Welcome to the Centenary Athletics Podcast, the first podcast, as far as we know, in the history of Centenary Athletics. I'm Patrick Meehan, this is Preston Ludwig, and it was Preston's brainchild to create this idea, so we're going to let him talk about how he came up with this idea and why it's important, and why it's going to be a lot of fun, obviously.
Yeah, Patrick, we're super excited to start this podcast. You know, this gives a better insight to what actually goes on throughout the season, what goes on through coaches and players' minds out on the field. And I think it's very important for the team in general and also the athlete that we bring on to get that exposure that they deserve. It's really tough, especially at the Division III level. We typically don't get the exposure or the pleasure of getting to know the athletes as well as we do at bigger schools like a Power 5 school, someone in the Big 12. You know, you got UT, Alabama. All those players are pretty well known through media, and we'd like for our student athletes to get that same experience.
Yeah, and anybody that watches and listens to podcasts often, we all know you find out things about the athletes, the guests, sometimes even about the host. Maybe you don't want to know all the things you find out, but really you're going to find out some things about these very special student athletes at Centenary that you maybe would never find out if you didn't watch this podcast, because we will go, like Preston mentioned, we'll go inside the minds of these student athletes, talk about their passions, talk about their path, getting here to Centenary, maybe touch on what they want to do in the future, and Preston will have a very good insight as a former student athlete here at Centenary, which will be very interesting. So this first edition of very many will be talking about the fall season that we've just completed, right, Preston? So
yeah,
that's what we're going to do first, is kind of get into the fall 2023 action.
Yep, we'll be covering soccer, both men and women, volleyball, football, just kind of recap basically what happened throughout the year, and then obviously bring on some guests, coaches, student athletes from those teams, and get an insight to their season, and hopefully get some insight to next season, because that's what we're all looking forward to now that we're done with the 2023 year. What are we looking forward to in 2024? What exactly can we expect from these teams?
For sure, and we have a lot going on, obviously with sports all the time, but we've had some announcements, with staff recently. We've had some changes with some sports. We have a lot of ongoing construction on campus right now. 2024 really is going to bring maybe some of the most significant changes that we've seen in Centenary Athletics for a long time. So this was kind of this perfect time to start this podcast. So I think it's going to be very enjoyable for people. We've got a lot of guests coming on this evening, and many more over the next few months when we really ramp this up. So
absolutely, and touching on the construction and things to come just in this next year alone. Obviously, change doesn't happen in an instant. It's not like you wake up one day and boom, you have a new field. Things take time, and we've seen this growth, especially through my time as a student athlete here, all the way from 2017 all the way up till now. There's been so many drastic changes that have happened here on campus, and it just seems like every single day there's more progress that we're looking forward to. There's a lot more changes that we're wanting to make in athletics to basically expand the student athletes experience here at Centenary.
For sure. So this evening, this is not everyone, but we will have Byron, Dawson, our head coach for the football program, on. We will have one of his players. Some of these we're going to keep as surprises, obviously, but we're going to have Lavelle from Gymnastics. She's a significant member of the campus, very involved with a lot of different things. So it's going to be interesting to talk with Emma. Meadow from Volleyball. We'll have some men's soccer representation, and who knows, a surprise guest could walk in any of these doors and just come on in. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to get this kicked off, and of course credit Preston for this. This was his idea, so good or bad, he's going to live with that. It's all going to be good.
Well,
so right.
Can't take all the credit. We have We have a lot of people behind the scenes that help out, and
That is true. That's very true.
We're very, very fortunate to have them with us and help us out through this journey.
All right, we'll get started, right?
Yep.
Our first guest will be here soon. All right, back here on the Centenary Athletics Podcast, Patrick Meehan, Preston Ludwig with you, and our first guest, Meadow Smith for volleyball. Sophomore, Meadow Smith. Meadow, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great. Is this the first podcast you've ever been on?
Yes, it is.
Meadow, we got a few questions for you, some fun
All right.
stuff at the end that I didn't even tell Preston about that
Ooh.
we're going to maybe quiz you on. But
Uh-oh.
so I know a lot of it is about the team, but individually, you had one of the best seasons of anybody on the team, and really in the conference. I mean, the team leader in assists and aces. Talk about, from your perspective, how did the season go? What were your expectations before the season? Did you set some goals and meet them, exceed them, things like that?
Yeah, I set some goals for myself personally. I went into the season wanting to go for my 1,000 assists, which I likely hit and surpassed, so proud of myself for that. Since freshman year was a little rough starting out, we were kind of like wanting to come in hot and like have a new start kind of, even though that obviously did not work the way we wanted to, but I think that a lot of good things did come out of the season. Our team chemistry was a lot better this year, I think. We really bonded with our freshmen because we really promised each other that we were going to take the freshmen under our wing and kind of like help them. Like I didn't get the treatment that I wish I had, so I was going to give them what they deserved and that good treatment. So I think we did really good at that.
Yeah.
I mean, building off of that, I mean, you talk about people not necessarily listening to you, and now you feel like you're stepping into that role. Now going to be a junior next year, do you see yourself being put in a leadership role?
Yeah, I think I could see myself there. I'm pretty close with everyone on the team, and I have a mutual respect with everybody. Everybody likes each other, likes me, I think. I would hope so. And I think I could lead the team pretty well. It's just all about like the little things. You gotta show up on time, make sure your players are showing up on time, texting them, encouraging them, things like that.
Absolutely.
What made you want to attend Centenary?
I actually had no clue what it was until I went to a volleyball showcase. And I actually didn't want to go to that showcase because my mom signed me up and it was going to be like 8 hours long, like all day. I was like, Mom, I can't go. And she was like, I already paid for it, you got to go. And I got recruited that day with Coach Ashley and Jamin. So they gave me the business card and said, we want you next year.
Awesome.
Yep.
The rest is history.
Yep.
Now, Patrick, I know we talked earlier in our intro. We talked about some staff changes. I know we have some additions with football now being a sport here, but now Coach Ashley, which was the head coach for volleyball this past year, she is now resigned. And so now with that opportunity for a new head coach to step in and there being new leadership on the team, Meadow, what are your thoughts on that? Do you see next year being an improvement from this year? Are you hopeful?
Yeah, I'm very hopeful. I see it like we can only go up from here. We had two pretty losing seasons. So I think everyone has kind of like a fire under their butt and wanting to get some dubs this year.
And I mean, me personally, coming from a losing team most of my life up until college, it's very easy to point your finger and put the blame on external factors rather than looking within yourself as a team and realizing what you need to do, whether it's individual or in a team setting, to be successful. So is there anything that you can see yourself doing next year to help the freshmen coming in?
I think just like right whenever they get here, we're gonna set the standard of like we're restarting fresh. We're starting fresh, and we need to like build our team chemistry from there and have a winning mindset of just wanting to go into every match like thinking we're gonna win it.
What was the adjustment from high school to college volleyball?
I think just balance, because college is so much more extensive than high school was, and you're independent too, so your family's not here, and I think I leaned on them a lot when I was in high school, and I was still able to in college, but it just was a lot harder, obviously, the distance. And it's, like I said, more extensive with, like, the conditioning and practices and stuff like that.
Right.
Now, I know, Meadow, you played in all 30 matches this season. Can you give us the highlight of the year for yourself as well as the team, a moment that stood out and basically showed the true colors of the team? I know you talked about chemistry being really good this year. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I specifically wanted to talk about, like, we had our match versus Trinity. Obviously, Trinity won the SCAC thing, but when we played them this year for the first time, they swept us in 3, but that had to been one of the best games that we played. We really played up to them, gave them a fight, and it was actually just really fun. Like, everyone's personalities came out in the court, and we really played as a team in that match.
One thing, I don't know, I've always liked to do is just, ask you about a teammate, and the reason I asked you about Daly Naggett, just because Daly, she was injured,
right,
had come back, and really had a great season. I mean, statistically. So, what's your relationship maybe with Daly? I mean, she struggled so much with injury and really came back, and you had proved yourself very much as a freshman. Daly maybe just scratched the surface, it seemed like, and then really had a good year.
Yeah, last year I feel like we weren't even that close, and then this year we just, like, beginning of this year, I guess, we really got a lot closer because we were the only 2 returning sophomores. So I think that bond there was, like, very strong for us, and we always had fun with each other on the court, and I love playing with her. She's a scrappy little player, but yeah, she's one of my best friends, and I'm glad that we got to play a lot together this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Would you well, I wouldn't say would you rather, but what's the atmosphere like, playing in the Dome where you practice all the time, your locker room's there, you spend a lot of time, or do you like going on the road, maybe in the conference or, anywhere? Do you like going and playing at another gym,
I really like the Dome, I think, because it's obviously home court for me, but also just, like, as a setter, I'm always looking up, and there's no lights coming down blinding me. If you ever, like, think about that, there's the lights come from the side and on the top, so there's no lights blinding me. So I do really like that about the Dome. But going to, like, the nicer schools kind of is always cool. Like, we went to TLU, they had a good gym. Lights were blinding though, so I like the home.
Yeah, same thing goes for me as a baseball player. Being first base, the sun sets right in front of me.
Right.
So every single game at night, I'm thinking, am I going to see this ball that's thrown at me? But at the end of the day, nothing beats home court advantage.
Exactly.
And the Gold Dome especially is an incredible atmosphere and just an awesome place to play any event or even just be a spectator. And that's the cool thing about Patrick and I's job is we get to work at athletic events for college, and it's just an amazing atmosphere all the time.
I agree.
So.
I got some fun questions for Meadow, Press, unless you have any more.
I got through mine.
Oh, okay. All right, Meadow.
All right.
Favorite Christmas song?
Oh. I don't know. There's an album I like by J.D. McPherson. Y'all probably don't know who that is, but his album's really good. So, Christmas album.
I'll have to pull that up.
Originals.
Okay.
Really good. It's called Socks.
Okay. What's your favorite sport other than volleyball? If volleyball is your favorite sport.
I really like to watch hockey.
Awesome.
But I can't ice skate. But I really like to watch hockey, mainly for the fights.
We talked about it earlier. You learned stuff you never thought you'd know.
Right.
Absolutely.
Hockey, but she doesn't like to skate.
And that's the cool thing about Shreveport is we have the Shreveport Mud Bugs right down the road. So
That is true.
And they play throughout most of the year, so it's awesome.
Yeah, I need to go.
Favorite place to eat in Shreveport?
Well, when my family always comes, we like to go to Longhorn. It's not.
I do like Longhorn.
Longhorn is good.
Yeah.
It's not.
The mac and cheese is top tier.
Yes, it is. I agree. It's not a local here, but I do like Longhorn.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another one. Maybe if I needed a sweet treat, like Counterculture. That's
the Humphrey.
good. Yep. That's always good.
Yeah. Now we're gonna have to get him as a sponsor. I don't think you can talk about people with.
Right.
All right, Longhorn and Counterculture for the people in the in the production team. That's what we need.
Please.
We'll take sponsors on this podcast. I mean, look at this. See, look, this could be lined with sponsors. Okay. Well, Meadow, we've enjoyed having you. See, we learned something that we didn't know, and actually, the thing about the dome with the light. See, this is just the Gold Dome gets more unique the more you think about it. I'm telling you.
There's certain things that spectators don't even think about when they come to watch games or they watch it on TV. So.
Well, and y'all probably noticed. Meadow's probably noticed when teams come in here, even like when we have soccer matches, like the soccer teams will come in to use the locker rooms. They're taking pictures. I mean, it's like they're walking into. It's amazing. I mean, most people are just in gyms. We have a dome.
Right.
The Gold Dome is awesome. I mean,
it's like almost going to Baylor or something.
Yeah, people are like amazed they come in. So I mean, it's pretty awesome. So, well, Meadow, we've enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll hope you'll be a usual guest with us. So.
Yep.
All right, Meadow Smith, ladies volleyball. Back on our Centenary Athletics Podcast, Patrick, me, and Preston Ludwig. Time to talk women's soccer, Preston.
Yeah, it wasn't a great season. Obviously, there's some things that they could have improved on, but there's growing pains, and even though there's not the best outcome, there's things that you can learn, especially coming from a sport that I played, baseball. Baseball is a game of failure. You fail 7 times out of 10, you're an all-star. So looking at soccer, obviously not the best outcome, but there's a lot to learn from this season, and I'm excited to see what happens next year.
Yeah, I mean, the ladies did struggle, but let me read you a couple little stats here, okay? How about this? Strong defense, okay? Centenary held 12 of its 16 opponents to 2 goals or less, recorded 4 shutouts. Held 7 opponents to 1 goal or less. And one of the highlights of the season was earning a scoreless tie at Austin College on October 15th, despite only traveling with 11 players due to injuries.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and that really was pretty fantastic. I actually went and worked the SCAC championships last month, and had talked to a couple coaches and a couple other folks at St. Thomas in Houston, and they talked about that and said, man, we haven't seen, like they said, that was some grit right there. I mean, you only have 11. Knowing that no one's going to be able to sub you out, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable.
It takes a lot of fight, and it takes a really strong mentality to push through that.
Right. And anybody that knows the game of soccer, for the most part, I think, and from talking to folks that know soccer better than me, you kind of go in thinking this is probably going to be low scoring. I don't think anybody ever expects it's going to be an 8-6 soccer match.
Right.
Okay. So if you're going to give your team a chance, like we did with Madison Ursoff in goal, who had an outstanding season statistically, and good defense across the board. They were right there so many times. We saw it with our own eyes at Mayo Field all season, and from tracking road matches. And, Preston, you were an athlete. You didn't go through a ton of losing streaks playing baseball here as successful as we've been, but it does it can get demoralizing over and over. Maybe you feel like you're so close, you lose 1-0. But, they hung in there, and you always got to say, look, can we turn the page? Will things be better next year? You always at least have that.
You're absolutely right. I mean, going from my perspective as a student athlete, if I'm going through a struggle, 5 or 6 games, things just aren't going my way. I can't get a hit. Okay, after the games, I'm going in the batting cages for an hour, 2 hours at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm constantly trying to get better. So it's really hard on yourself because there's some things that you can't control, but you feel like you can improve on. And so it took a lot out of these girls this year to really fight through it and not have to worry about someone subbing in, and they knew they were going to be out there the entire game. So it's like, okay, I'm either going to fight and push through, or I'm just going to give up. And they never gave up.
Right. We mentioned Madison Ursoff had a great season, 115 saves, led the conference. Kaylee Zeller scored her first career goal this season. Ursoff and Daisy Acosta, who Daisy came back for an extra season, they both made the all-conference team. And Daisy had a solid season. There were a lot of other girls on the team who had solid seasons, but maybe the stats don't show. But that's the way it is in soccer. You're playing, on defense, you're just not going to get a lot of stats. But did you have a great season? For sure. Everyone's going to look at, in football, it's going to be the quarterback. In basketball, what's the point guard doing? In soccer, well, you're looking at the goalie or maybe the goal scorers. But they did hang in. Certainly having 2 on the all-conference team based on the wins and losses was, that's something to be proud of. They did, earn 3 ties, including that scoreless tie at Austin College. So Morgan Dorsey, who's not able to join us, head coach, will be back next season. She'll be looking to rebuild the roster. Be interesting to see. We hope to have her on maybe after the first of the year, see what's going on with recruiting. We'll be hiring some, new assistant coach, things like that. So, it's kind of like our previous guest, Meadow Smith with Volleyball said, can really only go up from here, which in some ways, if you've been through the struggles, it's got to be a good feeling. Look,
yeah.
we're going to see how we can go up, right?
I mean, it gives the players some hope, and it also gives the fans some hope. I mean, there's probably some people here that have been coming to every single game for the last 3 years, and they're looking for some change. They're looking for success, and so there's a lot of hope for next year, and I think that Morgan can do this and turn around this program.
All right, that's our wrap on women's soccer. We'll be back on the Centenary Athletics Podcast. Patrick Meehan, Preston Ludwig, back with you here on the Centenary Athletics Podcast. Men's soccer has our attention now. Head coach Kevin White, Michael Smith. What's up, guys? How are y'all?
What's up?
Very relaxed. The season's over.
I guess so.
No.
Nah, there's the coach answer right there. So.
That's where the fun begins.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll start with Kevin. Kevin, off season. We're in it now. Look, tell us what's going on right now.
It's been going out pretty much every weekend, some midweeks right now, just watching guys play. I did it last weekend before, going to Austin tomorrow, Vegas next weekend. Not too bad of a trip to go watch kids play. And then basically be high school as soon as holidays are done. So it's nonstop right now.
So, Mikey, just kind of going off the year, what are your initial thoughts on this season?
Obviously, with some of the results, someone looking from the outside might be like, it's not the most ideal season. But then again, like with the SCAC, it's a really hard season. I think 4 of the teams that we played against were nationally ranked.
Yeah.
And especially with a really young team, even though we didn't win that many games, I think we're in the walking towards the right direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and Michael, individually for you, it's not all about yourself, it's about the team, but congrats, because you made all conference, scored your first career goal. You just did everything in your senior year, right? You waited, saved the best for last. But, yeah, I mean, talk about, your season, just from your perspective.
I think since I came on to play for Centenary, my whole goal was to maximize the amount of minutes I'm getting on the field and having fun. I tell that to all the freshman guys. Whenever I'm on the field, most guys can tell I'm always having a smile on my face, regardless of what is happening, the scoreline, all that. Because I'm just happy to be out there and playing. I know the coaches say it, just like I was blessed to be able to go out on the field, play against top competition, and I think I had some of my best games this season. So.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, the one goal that you had this season was actually your first career goal.
Mm-hmm.
And being a senior on this team and, having that moment this year, obviously that's going to be the highlight of probably the season and probably your career, because it was, a magical moment.
Mm-hmm.
All the guys are rushing the field, cheering you on when you're coming off. And, I mean, it's easy to point fingers and put blame on external factors. And like you were talking about, from an external point, looking at the season, it's not an ideal outcome. But, what do you think was the highlight of this season? Not so much as an individual, but as a team, where you saw the chemistry was, 100%. Everyone had each other's back.
Well, one standout was the, I think, Southwestern game.
Mm-hmm.
Against that team, we were facing against a team with a bunch of tall guys. I think the average height on that team was 6 foot or something crazy like that. And I just think all of the guys on the team, especially the younger guys, really stepped up to that challenge. And as a senior, looking back on it, I was really proud to see all the freshmen and all the guys that I've been playing with step up to that challenge.
And I know, it's hard to go through those growing pains. And Kevin, this was your third year coaching as a head coach, and it takes time to build a program.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what are we expecting out of next year? Is there a lot of hope? Playoff contention, obviously, we didn't make the playoffs this year, but with a team that's continuously growing year by year, can we see y'all make a run for the playoffs and potentially have a shot at winning it?
That's always the goal. No matter what, I think even this year, even though we knew we were going to be young, the goal is always try and get into the playoffs. Next year, we just want to bring in another class that's, probably won't be similar in numbers necessarily. We brought in 18 last year. But we still want to bring in a double-digit size class that's going to complement what we had, and it's going to be another young team. It's going to be probably majority of freshmen and sophomores. So there'll be more growing pains, more learning experiences. But I think especially for those sophomores, I think they all had a kind of that eye-opening moment this year. Okay, I kind of get what this is now, and a lot of them, I think probably 90% of them played a pretty significant amount as freshmen. That's a lot of freshmen getting on and getting time. So,
and it's a huge difference between high school and college,
obviously
for any sport.
Yes,
and so
especially in this
that's
conference.
Awesome for them to have that time on the field and get that experience early in their career.
Yeah, so we definitely want to lean on that, and the task doesn't get any easier next year since we're adding 3 teams to the conference, and as far as I know, my fingers are crossed, but I don't think anything's going to change. It's still going to be 4 playoff spots for 12 teams to fight it out for. And we're adding a team, 2 teams that were conference tournament participants in their respective conferences last year. So it's just going to be a challenge. But that's honestly one of the pitches we make to all these kids is, look, you're going to get to come play in a fun, competitive, challenging conference. You're going to get hard games. You're going to play against good players, and it's going to be a battle and a grind. And I think kids appreciate that, and would rather that than be like, oh yeah, we're going to just walk all over everybody.
Absolutely. And going back to the experience part, we're obviously Division III. Me and Patrick were touching on it earlier when we first started. A lot of these kids don't get the exposure that D1s do. Nationally televised games. Not getting the recognition through local media and stuff. It can sometimes be a little disheartening, and a lot of kids lose hope. But now that things are growing here, there's a lot of changes happening in facilities and different programs. we're continuously seeing growth throughout the entire athletic department, and so it's really cool to see that growth coming to all teams, and so we're looking forward to the success next year.
Yeah, we are too.
Something Kevin said earlier. So, Michael, the difference when you're in high school and then you come to Centenary, what was the the difference in the difficulty level, of playing college soccer?
It was a lot faster and more physical. I know me being like one of the smaller guys on the team, that was one of the things I had to get used to quick. How can I get the ball and make the most out of it in the least amount of touches? In high school, I would like be known for my dribbling and all that, but in college, I would go dribbling against one of the teams in the midfield and I would get punished for it. My freshman year, most of the guys know, but I broke my wrist in my first game, like first 5 minutes playing on the Centenary field, and I broke my wrist because I was going up against one of the guys. He was more physical than me, and then he pushed me over. And I think that was the biggest learning experience, saying, how can I take this and go forward with it? And I think for most guys coming in, especially with this team, was them like working through that and trying to learn how to get accommodated with that speed and physicality.
So did you know anything about the Centenary before you started playing here? Like, for instance, we had Meadow Smith from volleyball on earlier. I mean, she grew up in the Dallas area, and she said she had never heard of Centenary, and then Coach Ashley shows up at a showcase and and gave her the time, and she checked into it, came on a visit, was like, it's a great place, I'm going to Centenary. So, I mean, there's a lot of people. You grew up in Baton Rouge. Did you know about it, or?
No, sir. I didn't actually find out about Centenary until like later on, until like the recruiting process and all that. I remember it wasn't Coach Kevin that recruited me, but Coach Kyle. Remember, like my dad was like looking at schools I could go into and all that, and he saw Centenary was here, and like they had a nice little soccer program, and I was like, you know what, I want to like go. I did a tour here and everything, and I fell in love with it. I was like, you know what, it's a good program. It's in-state, obviously, and I love the team. Like I met some of the guys, and I was like, you know what, I could see myself like playing with these guys for like the next like 4 years, 3 years.
Well, now the fun part. Wait, by the way, Preston's a Rangers fan. Aren't you an Astros fan, Kevin?
Yes, I am.
And they beat you in the ALCS?
It's a good thing we're on the
This
opposite
is
sides
a,
of the table here.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to get to. Any bad blood going on?
No, I mean, look, when you don't win a single home game in a championship series, you really don't deserve to go to the World Series. So all we had to do was win one, and it's kind of the nature of the whole year. We didn't win games in the regular season at home, so it really didn't surprise me in the end. It
I love a little controversy.
It sucks as the Rangers.
Hey, that's
but
the thing, though. I mean, with baseball, with any sport, any team can beat any team. It doesn't matter what day it is. I mean, obviously.
Should have heard some of the stuff Preston was saying, though, man.
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
This, good for them. We're living in our glory days right now. It's the golden age of Astros baseball. So, I mean, I can't be too disappointed with what we've done over the past few years. They've carried Houston sports for quite a while here.
All right, so Mikey's been here long enough. Kevin, you've been here long enough. Favorite place to eat in Shreveport-Bossier? Favorite place to eat?
Maryland's.
Good choice, Mikey.
I think for me, I would have to say Pho L'Amour. It's a Vietnamese place down East Kings.
Right down the street.
Yes, sir.
Never heard of that.
Favorite Christmas movie?
I mean, Die Hard counts as a Christmas movie, right?
Well, it depends on who you ask. So.
I think for me, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
I love that movie.
All right, so we'll wrap it up in a minute. But Kevin, Mikey did mention it. He played for a couple different coaches here. Different styles. I mean, I knew Kyle as well. But talk about coaching Mikey and what he's meant to the program the time you've been here.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey probably has some moments where I've, made him turn red in the face in the locker room, because I use them as examples all the time of just kind of how we want our guys to just embody the program. He's that guy. He's going to give everything for his teammates. He's going to support anyone that's on the field, whether he's in, whether he's out. I mean, you can't ask for a better teammate to be playing with. You know, he works in practice, works in the games, and whether he's at his best or he's at an off day, the effort level, the attitude is always what you want. So he's one of the easier ones to coach. He's the guy that you wish everybody was like in those regards. I mean, I think there's a reason that just everyone on the team, no matter any of the 3 years I've been here, it's everybody likes Mikey. It's just he's one of those guys. So Tommy said it too. Like keep you around as long as you want to be here. But
another year, Mike. Another year.
I say you broke that wrist. You got to get a medical.
Yeah, he's got more goals than him. So. All right, well, Preston, unless you have anything else, that's our look at men's soccer.
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking forward to the success of next year. I know a couple injuries on the team, obviously. Sam, the hand injury.
More than a couple.
So it was kind of disappointing that Sam, had his season shortened. But junior Casey Clemo, he really stepped up and did a really good job and proved himself in the SCAC. And we're looking forward to the success from next year with all the returners.
Yeah, we are too.
All right, head coach Kevin White, Mikey Smith, that's our look at gents soccer. We'll be back on the Centenary Athletics Podcast. All right, back on the Centenary Athletics Podcast. Patrick Meehan, Preston Ludwig with you. Now our time to turn our attention to football. Head coach Byron Dawson, Josh Ware, how are you guys?
Great.
I'm good, thank you.
Football, Preston and I talked about this in our open. It's been one of the most monumental, historic things that had happened, not just at Centenary College, but in the Shreveport-Bossier area for a long time. The return of football, first time since the 1940s. So, Coach, we'll start it off with you. The dust has settled a little bit here on the end of the first season. Talk about how things went from your perspective and what the future holds.
I was proud of the young men. Whenever you start a football season without having a off season, without having the guys on campus, the majority of the team showed up in August. And so, just to watch the guys grow over the weeks of the season, to watch them develop and buy in, was a testament to the character of the guys that we recruited. And I was proud of my coaching staff, the job that they did. But most importantly, these players, they went out there and they played, and I think they represented the college and this city by performing well on game days. And so that's what the goal was this season, starting off, and we feel like the future is bright.
Josh, what about you? You grew up here in Shreveport, went to a local high school, playing at Centenary. I mean, what's the experience been like?
The experience was great. I mean, we came out there, we fought very hard. Practice was just as hard as the games, We always tested and we always made sure that we push each other into our limits, and broke over those limits, because that's what football is all about, testing, going to the limits and playing physical and playing fast. And I think the coaches did a great job with training us, We spent early mornings with each other, so we connected as family. These guys are like brothers, So, yeah.
And coming off of that, I mean, it's really tough, especially for the transition from high school to college. And now, for this being the first year of Centenary football since the 1940s, I mean, it's tough to kind of get started and build a program. And the fact that, the team is mostly made up of freshmen and sophomores, it's pretty cool. And it makes a statement saying, like, we're here to play. And for y'all to put out the season that y'all did, that's pretty impressive. And so going off of that, Byron, did the season go as you initially had planned and hoped? Everything that you were working for?
My experience as a coach is you never try to project or predict a season, because you don't know how the team will mesh. There's so many moving parts in a football team, and there's different positions, there's coaching, there's the injuries that come into play. So you kind of just hold on to your seat. It's like a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster,
you
right?
know. And so, but I was pleased with the results. I think that the kids gel. I think that once you have good chemistry and there's a true brotherhood there, I think that is probably the key ingredient to teams playing, because then when you do that, you build trust.
Absolutely.
And trust is the glue that wins. And so that trust and that commitment turned into W's on game day. And so I was very pleased and happy with the results for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, with that chemistry comes success. And
Right.
so moving into conference play next year,
Mhm.
you know, just your second year being a program here at Centenary, it's going to be a challenge.
Right.
And in athletics, we know that every day that we step on that field, whether it's practice,
Right.
a game, or even just a day in the classroom, there's always a challenge in life.
Yes.
And so looking forward to next year, coming off of some injuries, Vance,
Right.
Feuerblocker, the quarterback for Centenary,
Uh-huh.
coming out with an ACL injury mid-season. What does that do to a team that's so close to each other? Does that motivate y'all even more to have Vance's back and each other's back?
Well, you know, I think that, you know, with football, we always say next man up.
Mm-hmm.
And we prepare all our guys to be ready, because it is a contact collision sports. And so we know that the opportunity to get injured happens, and we hope the injury isn't season ending, but in Vance's case it was. But I thought that, you know, we had guys step up. You know, Jalen stepped up, and he did a good job leading our team to victory. I think Coach Woodtee, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, did an amazing job of stepping in and making sure his next quarterback was ready to go. And so, and then each players, the O-line had to step up. The defense had to step up. You know, this is just like a family. When somebody goes down, you got to, you know, pull the slack.
Yep.
And so that's what we did, and I was proud of our guys for doing that.
Well, just to, you know, say, to reinforce some of the success, you know, we don't always get to write about everything that's positive, but I'll just throw some stuff at y'all. So we went 8-1 this season, okay? Won 7 in a row.
Right.
Here's another good thing: you scored a lot and you didn't give up a lot. So
Right.
even a man that doesn't know a lot about football, and somebody's watching and saying, "I don't really know much about football," I can tell you, we scored a lot. We didn't give up a lot.
Right.
Also, one thing, Coach, you know, we had talked about during the season. You played 3 games in a span of less than 2 weeks. It was 12 or 13 days.
Yes.
Okay, that's tough. You probably planned that, right? You're going to see how the guys are going to, react to that. But that was a big challenge. So talk about that. I mean, that's a lot of action in a short amount of time.
You know, schedules are done most of the time 2-3 years out. And so with us, with me getting here and getting the team together, we had to get some games. We had to basically get in where we fit in. So we had to just take the games when we got them. We had some teams cancel on us, and so it created this perfect storm of us trying to get in a lot of games in a short amount of time, and just the wear and tear on that. You know, the thing about those 3 games in the 13 days, they were all on the road. So we traveled on the other side of Fort Worth, then we traveled up to Little Rock, and then we traveled up to Batesville, Arkansas. And so that was a tough challenge, but you know, you'll take that. College football is changing now. There's Thursday night games, and so, you know, those are some of the dynamics that these kids had to deal with, and I was proud of the way the kids and the coaches responded, but that was probably one of our toughest challenges of the season.
Yeah, for sure. You know, speaking of challenges, Josh, I mean, you played at Southwood. You played at a large high school here. What you come from high school to college ball? What's it been like? Was it what you expected? Was it harder? You know,
I think moving up, everything is always harder. I think God always challenge you in ways where you have to progress always. And college ball is most definitely harder. It's faster. They're bigger. They're stronger. They're smarter. So I think moving up from high school to college, it was much harder than
And I will say there's a quote that I go by every day, that all progress takes place outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so you always have to learn to adapt and get used to change. And so coming from high school to college, taking tough classes here on this side of campus, and then also going across the street and being able to perform every single day, that's a challenge in itself. So how has your experience been here so far in your first year?
I enjoyed it. Most of all, I think Centenary has a lot of outlets for me. I can sit there and go to the library or find people that will tutor me or help me with my classes. I have teammates, like I said, they family. You spend every morning with these guys. These guys take the same classes you take. So, I mean, these guys can help you just like I can help them, you know? And so I think my first year, of course, is challenging, but at the same time, I enjoyed it.
And being at Centenary, it is a very small campus, and so it's like you said, you get to know everyone on a personal level, whether it's on your team or just people in general here on campus. And so it's a pretty cool experience here at Centenary.
So Byron, right now, I mean, you never have a day that's not busy. I realize that, but you know the dust has settled a little bit on this first season, but things are going to get real fast. I mean, what are you doing right now? And before we know it, you know it's going to be August, September again. So time's going to fly. My uncle always said, "Time flies whether you're having fun or not." So what's going on here over the next few months?
Well, you know, the football team has their 4 core values: sacrifice, honor, service, and love. But us as a coaching staff, we have our 3 core values, which is recruit, retain, and develop. And so we really go into that mode. Recruiting is so important right now. And so we're constantly on the phone, texting, callings. That is constant. That's nonstop. Kids are visiting. We're excited about having great facilities now. You know, last year when I was doing this, I didn't have much to show, but a picture and a vision. But to have the great facilities, I think David Orr and his staff has done an amazing job of making sure that we have some of the best facilities in Division III football in the country. And so to see that growth on our campus and see our campus change and really change in this part of town, this part of the city, through the construction that's going on. And then retention is making sure that we take care of the guys that are here, retaining them, you know, making sure they have the resources that they need, making sure they have a great college experience, support, help. You know, that's part of retention. And then developing, going in the off season, getting stronger. We call it developmental season. So we're in there lifting weights, we're getting faster, we're working on our technique. Iron sharpens iron. And so we do that every single day. So that's where my mindset is at, and it doesn't stop. It's not off season, it's on season, because it's on to the next challenge, on to the next step of getting better.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say the transformation in the construction, it's been pretty amazing, hasn't it? I mean, think about what has happened in a really short amount of time, you know?
Yes.
And of course, you know, Byron knows this. I mean, you know, when we interviewed Byron, we were at dinner together.
Right.
You know, I remember his introductory press conference. We knew each other a little bit before this life, but and then to think to where we are now, and that's not that long.
Not that long ago.
And it's amazing. Byron probably does it more than us, but I mean, I walk around sometimes on campus. I just look out there and I'm like, I can't believe this. I can't believe that this has come to fruition so fast.
Right.
And we really only scratched the surface. That's the thing.
Right.
There's so much ahead of us. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. So one thing, Byron, I have been thinking about. I've asked some other people this, but so you got to. You're on the hot seat now. No, I'm just kidding. But you got to tell us honestly. You grew up here. You grew up in Shreveport.
Yes.
Did you ever realistically and honestly think that you'd see the day that Centenary had football again?
No, I didn't. I never connected Centenary and football together at all. But, you know, I can tell you this, I'm proud that it's here.
Yeah.
And the sense of pride that the people in this city has when I go in the grocery store, I'm at the gas station, or I'm at the fair. People walk up to me and give me a high five, and ladies give me a hug and say, hey, we're pulling for you, Shreveport's team. I think it just energizes me every day to let me know that this is bigger than just a college football team. This is something for the community. This is something for our city. This is something for our area, and that drives me every day for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Perfect answer, and I think we'd all agree. I mean, this has been one of the most positive things that's happened in Shreveport.
Right.
for a long time. We were talking about that. My family at Thanksgiving, and
Yeah.
we're all Shreveport folks.
That's right.
Most of us born and raised. We all said we weren't sure because you never know. That's why I think people need to realize how monumental and historic this has been.
Yes.
You weren't quite sure if this was happening,
Right.
but it has, and it's here, and it's an amazing thing. So yeah, Preston,
Well,
what more you have football talk here?
We're super proud of the success that y'all have had this first year here, and
Yes.
we're just really excited now that conference starts next year,
Yes.
and we're really looking forward to the success of next year.
Yeah, thank you guys for your support. There's a lot of different moving parts, from the streaming to the stats to traveling. I know it was a different year. It was a transition not only for us, but for the sports information team. I just want to thank Patrick and Preston and his crew, the guys behind the cameras right now and the mics, the unsung heroes, everybody for doing all those little jobs that make a big difference.
We definitely wouldn't have had it if we didn't have the support.
Labor of love, man. We have the best job in the world.
But no,
It's unbelievable.
on a serious note, it would not be possible with all the extra support that Patrick and I have behind the scenes. So we're very grateful for the people that we have supporting us. And now that football's here and facilities are changing, everything is growing. Hopefully we can expand our department as well as every other department here in athletics, and
That's right.
and continue to grow.
Yeah, we are transitioning from now we go to now we grow.
Absolutely.
So get ready for that.
That's right.
Now we grow era.
Oh, our final questions, and y'all would not believe that some of these have been. We cannot believe the answers we've gotten. Okay,
What you got?
Coach, favorite Christmas movie?
The Grinch. I
Josh.
just think it's funny,
Polar
man.
Express.
Man, aren't you? Okay,
Classics.
y'all wouldn't believe this. We had someone say, "I don't have one because I don't watch movies." We don't know if that's true or not. Then we had, was it Meadow?
It was Meadow.
Volleyball. Meadow really had to think about it. Did she ever answer? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, she didn't like films, but she likes songs.
Yeah, we said favorite. Maybe we said favorite Christmas song. I don't know. It was kind of amazing though. But we did have a coach say she doesn't even watch movies.
Oh yeah.
But I've passed by her office and I swear I thought she was watching
Watching
something
a movie,
one time
okay.
on her
I
lunch
mean, the other
break.
day they were wearing Christmas hats at the basketball game, so
There you
she
go.
has to have some sort of
Everybody
love for
has a
Christmas.
favorite Christmas movie, right?
Got to.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we enjoyed Coach Dawson and Josh Ware being with us, and that's our look at football. We'll be back on the Centenary Athletics Podcast. All right, back here on the Centenary Athletics Podcast, Patrick Meehan, Preston Ludwig, and Kaylee King, our favorite coach, Kaylee King. Y'all are all tied for first. So Kaylee King is our head coach of, well, right now, I'll just let her say. I would say cheer, dance, and stunt. Is that accurate? I mean, we're bringing stunt on. She has so many sports, y'all. We can't keep track of it.
It's accurate at the moment, but we'll be changing to just stunt and cheer.
Yes, as Preston and I talked about in the beginning, that is some of the biggest news we've had, that stunt will be coming in the 2024-25 year.
Yes.
I'm sure this has been in the works for a long time. So talk about this transition to stunt, and for those, trust me, there are some people, they're saying, what is stunt? Are we talking about stunt doubles? What's going on? What is stunt? So tell us that.
So stunt is a 4-quarter game that is played against one other team, and you play 4 rounds in each one of those quarters, and they're broken up by partner stunts, jumps and tumbling, pyramids and baskets, and then a team routine. And they range in difficulty, so routine 1 is the easiest, and then routine 8 being the hardest. You'll play 4 out of 8 routines in each one of those quarters. So you play 16 different times in one game.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the team with the most points at the end wins. But you can also win each quarter.
So what is what's recruiting like for Stunt? Is it similar to anything else?
It's similar to recruiting for cheer because it's the same skills and the same idea, but it's taking out like the sideline aspect of it and more of the raw side that exists in cheer and using the technical elements. So it's all simply skill based. So the recruiting's the same. In fact, it opens up a wider range of recruiting for us because it allows us to take people who can only stunt and maybe aren't able to tumble, or those who have never stunted, like former gymnasts, things like that, who only have tumbling experience.
And we'll still have game day cheer, isn't that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Which has been very successful.
it has.
So we'll give Kaylee a lot of props for that. And Kaylee doesn't love the spotlight, and I joke back and forth with her a lot. And sometimes I'll do these things in public, like at games, but really I want people to know and appreciate how much cheer and dance has done to enhance the game day atmosphere. I've seen the impact at a higher level that it can do, but really we have some very talented student athletes on campus. And when you came in, the program had been started basically from scratch, but what sort of shape was it in? I mean, I think you've really done a great job of taking it to a high level, and now we're going to move into stuff and talk about that. It had to be difficult. It's difficult starting any new job, but
Yeah, I mean, we had a larger number when I got here, and of course, when you make the coach transition, not everybody wants to stick around. So we ended with 8 on the team last year for cheer, and obviously those aren't great numbers, but we still had a great performance out at nationals, and we took 4th out of 12, and so that really helped with recruiting and people wanting to join us. So this year we're sitting at 14 right now, and so we're excited. Basically doubled our numbers or close to it, and so that has definitely helped. And our performance coming up in February at nationals will probably help us even more to get traction and let people know that even Centenary even has a cheer team, because that's been a big thing that I've heard, that people are surprised.
And that's the thing that we touched on earlier, is there's so many changes here at Centenary, whether it's facilities or teams in general. There's just continuous growth throughout the entire athletic department. So it's pretty cool seeing this addition, this new team here on campus, and we're excited to see what is Stunt, because I don't think many people here know what that is.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting.
Well, and we're the first school in Louisiana to have it, so that's exciting.
Even
too.
better.
Yeah.
well, it's one of the fastest growing female sports in the country, is what my
It is.
Is that what
it says right on my screen. So
It is.
that's Google, right?
yes, originally yes it was. So recruiting wise, even in the last couple of years, Kaylee, when it was for cheer and dance, what's the response? When you go out and you're representing Centenary, I know there's always people, where? You're like, what? Is there
Right.
another one in New Jersey? Is that school? Or what is Centenary? I mean, even we've talked to some of our student athletes, until they were recruited, they had never heard of Centenary. What's the response get when you go out across the country?
I mean, it's a lot of that same response, where they've oftentimes heard of Shreveport or they've heard of Louisiana, and then you kind of narrow it down from there. But I mean, not a lot of people have heard of Centenary, and so really what draws them in is being a small school, and then of course the trip to Paris helps when you add that in. So
Right. So the experience last year, when y'all were in California for the national competition, I mean, talk about that. What were your expectations going in? And then, I mean, it was a fantastic showing. So what did you think when you reflect back on that?
I mean, I'm happy with how it went. Of course, you go out there with the hopes of taking first, but I had been out there previously, and so I knew kind of how to have more realistic expectations for them. I just wanted them to put out their best performance. And we actually did that as a combined performance with dance, and we were the first school to ever do that out there. And so that was new and kind of set the tone for what our program had to bring. But I was happy with what they did. They did their best performance of the year, and that's all you could ask for. And so to take 4th, we were the smallest school in our division. We were the only D3 school out there. So, I mean, I don't have any complaints about it.
Sounds pretty awesome to me. All right, the fun stuff now. Right?
Okay.
All right. Favorite Christmas movie?
I don't have one because I don't watch movies.
Man,
That's
we were
tough.
talking about earlier how you're going to learn something new.
You don't know about some people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what about favorite Christmas song?
I don't really have one because I don't really listen to Christmas music.
And I mean, they're played nonstop in retail, for 3 months
I mean,
straight,
now I
so.
just hear whatever my 3-year-old hears, so it's her rendition of
You're
probably
not a
Rudolph.
Scrooge or a Grinch, are you? 'Cause
No,
you're so-
I like Christmas.
You're so
I
bubbly
just,
and happy.
I don't know.
Okay, well, let's see. My Christmas stuff is out. Fine, we'll go back. What's your favorite Halloween candy? Come on, give us something. Oh, Lord.
I guess Reese's. I don't really eat candy,
It's not a bad pick.
so
Okay. Favorite restaurant in Shreveport-Bossier?
Chang's Garden.
Right around the corner.
Love
Yep.
Chang's.
I'm so hungry, too. See, we have to be talking about this right now.
You
And for
brought it
Centenary,
up.
for Centenary students, you got your SGA tag, you get some discounts.
Oh, do you?
Good to know.
Okay. Favorite place to visit, when you're traveling?
I don't know. I've been to Nashville 3 times this year, so that was pretty cool. And
That's
every
right.
time got to see something different. So that probably makes the top of the list. And then every now and then I go home to Michigan, so I guess I got to put that out there.
You a Wolverines fan? Or
No.
I know that.
No.
Yeah. Kaylee's a Michigan State fan.
Exactly. Well, I'm a Michigan State grad,
That's
so
right.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah. All right. So my Christmas questions are out, and I know, like I said earlier, Kaylee doesn't really like to be on the spotlight. So I was really gonna try to get her with one, but I don't think I'm gonna do that to her. But Preston, anything else for Kaylee?
No,
We've learned a lot.
We have learned a lot. We've learned about Kaylee, and we've learned a lot about Stunt. We're super excited to have it here at Centenary.
Yeah. Well, and it's a big, like we talked about earlier in our open, all that's going on with facilities, we all know this. I mean, all the construction that's going on, of course, bringing tennis back, bringing Stunt, which a couple of years ago, this was even before Kaylee's time, it was like, is this going to happen? We had kind of talked about, hey, football's going to come, Stunt, esports, all these things were kind of going on at once, but now, so how about one last question, because I did think about this earlier. Now that the word is out and
Right.
you're able to recruit for this, it's got to be a relief, I would think. But how exciting is it now? Because I'm sure you've had people asking you,
Yeah.
Coach, what about Stunt?
I mean, I've had people asking me if we'll ever go in that way. It's really just the direction that cheer's going in. Like, the whole world of cheer is really breaking off because the NCAA has never recognized cheer as a sport, and of course my athletes want to be recognized, so they've definitely been asking that. But we've already had our first freshman recruit signed, so that's been pretty exciting that somebody's already committed to us.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that is a look at cheer, dance, and now Stunt with head coach Kaylee King. We'll be back with more on the Centenary Athletics Podcast. All right, back here on the Centenary Athletics Podcast, Patrick Meehan, Preston Ludwig with you, and we have junior Emma Lavelle from Gymnastics with us. Hello, Emma. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Doing good.
We're awesome. We're glad to have you.
I'm happy
So-
to be here.
So you're from Louisiana. You're from South Louisiana, and you made your collegiate debut at the PMAC in Baton Rouge in front of 10,000 people.
I did.
There's not a lot of people at this level that would get to do that. So talk about that experience.
It was honestly so surreal because in club gymnastics within Louisiana, I've gotten to compete at the PMAC, but there was nobody in the stands besides our parents. And so it's like, oh yeah, cool, we're on the college equipment, but it's not the same. And then getting the call a week before we went up to LSU, and it's like, hey, we need y'all here. And then I just all your dreams come true because you've always wanted to just compete there. And so it was a lot of fun.
That is amazing. So from, as a young athlete onto high school, transitioning to college, I'm sure you've thought about it all the time, like how hard is it going to be? I mean, what's it been like now that you're at this point, several years into your college career, transitioning maybe just from simplified from high school to college? What's that been like?
There's been a few bumps in the road, but it's not terrible. I've learned that
I have to create a schedule at the beginning of the semester, and so any free time around practice or classes, I have to dedicate that, whether it's to like work study or another job, and or studying. So just finding my rhythm.
We had talked about this with a couple of our other student athletes that we interviewed earlier, with coaching changes now, I mean, you've had multiple coaches in your career. What has this been like? I mean, how hard is that on you as the student athlete to adjust each time? I don't know, maybe it's been very smooth, but from your perspective, what's it been like?
It was very rocky. I think the worst time was at the start of last year. Coming into fall of 2022 was really hard for us because we didn't have anybody. There was no stability, so it's really hard to know who to look towards. Luckily, we did have Coach Jackie come back and help us. So it was not an easy adjustment. Obviously, you had some trial and error within the team and not really knowing who to look up to. But now that we have Coach Meg and Coach Joseph, it's so much better, and we're slowly building our foundation.
Awesome.
Now, I know just recently we actually had our Walk Like Mad event. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so we host Walk Like Mad every single year. It's in honor of late Centenary gymnast Sylvia Kiter. So she, in May of 2018, she stopped on the side of I-20 to help somebody on the side of the road. And while she was helping them, she was struck by a drunk driver. And she was pronounced dead on the scene. And so we work with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, every single year in order to not only honor her memory, but just to bring awareness to the dangers of drunk driving. So we want to be able to promote a future of no more victims, and a college campus is a great place to do it because there's so many young athletes and young adults who come into contact with alcohol, and they're bound to make a good or a bad decision, and we want to make sure that they're making the good decision.
Yeah, I've been here, several years. I mean, that event it's kind of grown and grown as far as participation. You're to be commended, Emma, because that's a very important thing. Y'all's team seems like you're very involved in so many different things. Everybody seems very active. Mm-hmm. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, is that true? Do you think y'all just kind of have these passions that you put your heart into, and you're very busy, but you do so many things outside of the gym for practice and competitions, right?
Yes, I'd have to agree with that. We are very involved in different organizations, and some people might overlap with organizations, but a lot of people kind of spread out. So we have members who are student ambassadors. We work with Special Olympics. Sometimes we get to partner up with the sororities and help with Make-A-Wish. So we did that for one of our meets last year. We have members of Tri Beta or people who are in work study, work at the Learning Commons. We're an all-around team.
So it's got to be, hard to balance being a student and an athlete. We talk about this, all the time, but how difficult is that? And Centenary's not an easy school, right, academically. So how do you balance this?
Like I was saying earlier, it's really just sticking to your schedule and holding yourself accountable. Luckily, everybody on the Centenary Gymnastics team, we're pretty accountable people, and we're going to, commit ourselves to our academics because we're students first and then we're athletes. And luckily, our coaches also agree with that, and so they push us within the classroom as well.
It is good that y'all's coaches do support that too, because I do know that gymnastics does have sort of a abnormal practice time within your schedule, and so it's got to be tough to manage being both a student and an athlete at the same time.
Yes.
Well, we're celebrating a milestone this next year, 60th?
Yes.
You're a freshman, you already know this.
Yep,
You've been working on
60th anniversary for gymnastics at Centenary.
Gymnastics at Centenary, so that is a big deal. Y'all have something planned, I know, for a meet. Well, we always kind of do something for each home meet, right, Emma?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about any plans for that anniversary or anything else that we have going on.
So in February, we're going to have a double meet weekend, so we'll have a meet on Friday and Sunday. Friday, I believe that one is going to be our Sylvia meet, and so every single year we honor Sylvia Kiter once again. We get to focus more on her impact within the gym, and we actually have Leos that are now dedicated to her, so you'll see the gymnastics team in teal in honor of her. And then the meet on Sunday will be our 60th celebration, and that's when all of our alumni will be coming down, and it'll be a nice big hoorah. So.
And you were working hard today because we have it's only December, but we have gymnastics in December coming up.
Yes,
Right.
we have an inter squad on Friday, so we have to set up the dome on our own, but luckily football has been assisting us, and so they are a very big help.
That's awesome. Ready for our fun questions, Preston, or you have another serious question to ask Emma?
I mean,
He does.
We're so excited to see gymnastics take off this year again, and we're excited to see the success that y'all bring every single year. It seems like every year, every single season, we continue to grow, and we were talking about this within every single sport that we've brought on. Facilities keep growing, athletic programs keep growing, so we're excited to see the success grow within your team. So we're looking forward to that. Now, Patrick can get into the fun questions.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we'll get to that in a second. One thing I was thinking about, because it goes back to our first question. I mean, you know, you're from Mandeville, so in South Louisiana. I mean, did you know about Centenary growing up? Was it not until you were recruited? This is always, we've had interesting answers from our previous guests. So tell us about that.
I did not know Centenary existed until I was recruited. Yes.
And so now that you're here, what's your favorite thing about Centenary?
Favorite thing? I love the small community. I came from a slightly smaller high school, so I enjoy being able to know everybody, but also having good relationships with my professors.
What's your favorite sport other than gymnastics? If gymnastics is your favorite sport. Some people play the sport, it's not even their favorite. I've had some kids tell me this. It's pretty crazy, but.
Okay, I'll say gymnastics is my favorite, but other than that, probably men's soccer.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Braden Board, who's a football player, was a standout basketball player, and my nephew was at a basketball game last year, and he said, "How long has basketball been your favorite sport?" Braden said, "Well, I hate to disappoint you, but football is my favorite sport." And you know, if you've seen him play football, you know, I mean, he's great at both, but we miss him on the basketball court too. But okay, time for the fun questions. And you would not believe some of the answers we've gotten to this, but favorite Christmas movie?
I would have to say Elf. I feel like I've watched it the most.
Do you have a favorite Christmas song?
No.
Do you have a favorite Christmas snack?
Hot chocolate?
Ooh, nice.
That's a good one.
Favorite place to eat in Shreveport-Bossier?
Oh. Okay, I like Athena's. And then I feel like there's another place that's on the tip of my tongue.
We've had a lot of good suggestions for food I haven't even heard of.
Frank's Pizza.
Oh, Frank's is
Yeah.
good.
Oh, it sounds so good right now too. I've been so hungry for a couple hours. Okay. Favorite, not Christmas, but favorite regular movie?
That's really hard.
It is hard.
That's really hard.
We asked someone earlier their favorite Christmas movie, and they said they can't answer because they don't even watch movies. So I'm sure, of course, you know, competing at LSU in the PMAC was awesome. The atmosphere, as we all know, you know, at the Gold Dome is great. I mean, the support that we get, the crowds are good. But where's been your favorite place? I know you love competing at home, but what about going? Y'all take some pretty amazing road trips every year. So
Yes, we
where's
do.
been, if you can say your favorite spot, where has it been?
Honestly, probably Cornell when I got to go for nationals my freshman year.
Oh, that is awesome. This year, tell folks that don't look at the schedule constantly, like the three of us, but where are y'all going? Anywhere you're looking forward to this season?
We get to go to Air Force, which is in Colorado, so I'm really excited for that. And then we'll have a double meet weekend where we're in Cornell, and then we'll go to Westchester.
Oh, awesome.
That's gonna be a cool trip.
It'll be a lot of fun.
I guess, you know, last question, you know, for yourself and for the team, you know, what are your goals? What are your expectations, you know, for the coming season?
Right now, as a team, we're just trying to keep growing, building that foundation. There have been some changes in USAG with like what teams are still participating, and right now our goal is to just be within the top 10, and that's going to set us up for bigger things within the future.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Emma, and we will see you very soon. That's our look at gymnastics with junior Emma Lavelle, and we'll be back on the Centenary Athletics Podcast. Patrick, Patrick Meehan and Preston Ludwig back with you. Our final segment of our initial podcast. Preston's wonderful idea, of many that he has.
Well, it's been a great success. I think so far. I mean, all the growth that we've been talking about throughout this whole thing, continuation to enhance the experience of student athletes and enhance the media for people at home. We're really looking forward to all the things to come, and I'm just stoked.
Yeah, so and we've had some great guests. We've learned a lot here in our first podcast. It's fun to talk to these student athletes, outside of the zone that you are all in, all the time. But we had Emma Lavelle with Gymnastics, who's a very involved person on campus, in addition to being an outstanding gymnast. Mikey Smith, I mean, that was so interesting, right? I mean, Mikey's just such a great kid, but just seeing the respect level between Coach Kevin and Mikey, and of course we were so happy, like everyone was, for Mikey this year scoring his first career goal. And do you remember this, Preston? We talked about we heard this at senior day. He scored this goal against Huntington College, where both his parents went to college. So it's kind of amazing. So
that's a monumental moment for him, for sure.
So great for Mikey and making all conference this year. Meadow Smith from Volleyball, who joined us earlier. Meadow, just carries herself so quietly, but she's tenacious on the court. Great individual statistics this year in what was it was a tough year for volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough for them to keep going, but and of course the football discussion was great with Coach Dawson and Josh Ware. What's interesting, I'm glad that he said that growing up in Shreveport, he really didn't. He didn't think that we'd have football, right?
No.
Which is amazing, which just makes it even
and I mean,
more special.
It's a very small community in the grand scheme of things. Me being from the Dallas area, I mean, you've got hundreds of schools in the area. It's normal to have all these athletic programs, and for Josh to be from Shreveport and to experience this for the first time since the 1940s is really something special.
It's amazing. So how about coming up, Preston? We're kind of in the slow period right now, but things are going to ramp up. What are you looking forward to after the first of the year? We do have a couple basketball games on New Year's Eve. Of course, gymnastics, as Emma mentioned, we got the inter-squad. But what are you looking forward to coming up?
Well, being that I play baseball here, I'm super excited for the season this year. I'm really excited to see what the talent level's like, what the new recruits are like this year out on the playing field. But honestly, I'm actually really excited for lacrosse. Lacrosse has been one of those teams where they've been slowly building year by year, starting off from nothing. And Coach Billy LeClaire, he's done a great job trying to build this team from the ground up, and I'm really excited to see what they do this year. Yeah, for sure. Look, I was thinking the other night about the winter sports. Coach Tom was swimming. Swimming's kind of been on that incline. Really, like they've been really moving in the right direction. Obviously, yes, with lacrosse, I think it's gonna be exciting. What Emma mentioned about gymnastics, this is a big year for gymnastics, but basketball, last weekend in February, we're hosting the conference championships for men and women in the Gold Dome. That's going to be amazing. I think that's something unique about this level, NCAA Division III and this conference, where you get the opportunity to host, conference championships events. And think about it, we talked about the Gold Dome earlier. With the way the crowd could be, it's a crazy atmosphere. Playing in our own gym, which will just be awesome. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Your favorite Christmas movie, Preston? Come on, what do you got? Ooh, that's a tough one. I know you watch movies, so you can't. I watch movies all the time. Elf is very overplayed, so I can't say Elf. I'd have to go with a childhood favorite, and that's Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Nice. Nobody asked me, but I'm going to say I got a tie. I have a tie.
Christmas Vacation, and Home Alone.
Oh, I forgot about Christmas Vacation.
And so, this has been my tradition forever. Every year, I will watch those one night back to back.
Mhm.
Okay, back to back. I kind of got my son into this now, and he says I remind him of Kevin in Home Alone for some reason. Like, I don't know what it is. I was like, well, I wasn't as fearless as him. It may be him eating ice cream or running around the house. I don't know what it is, but he loves to do that. But that's my tie on those. Christmas song, Preston? What do you think?
Well, I've worked in retail for a little bit, and
You've heard them all.
I've heard them all, and I do not like them at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think they get a little bit
They
overplayed
get overplayed.
Too, so.
If they're playing before Thanksgiving, it's too soon.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. We have had an outstanding first podcast. This is going to happen a lot, which is good.
Mhm.
And once we get into the spring where we have all kinds of things going on, we'll have many more guests and have a whole lot more fun. So we appreciate everybody watching on our first Centenary Athletics Podcast. We'll be back with you soon.